2006 was just not a good year for the Fox network. They tried 7 different shows, and they all ended up failing in one way or another. With the exception of one of them, they all just vanished after one season, going into the void we all know as lost media. Barely anything can be found to even prove that they existed. Until one day, I came across a couple of screener DVDs. On them were the pilots to these 7 failures. The Wedding Album, Till Death, Happy Hour, Standoff, Vanished, The Winner, Justice. It's time to bring them back, folks. One by one, in no particular order, they're coming out of the void and getting a thorough examination. Strap in. This is gonna be a fun one. Here we are again talking about those screener DVDs I found. This time around, we're not talking about a comedy show, we're talking about a drama show, being Vanished. One of the least remarkable shows I have ever seen. Everything about this is just so standard and been done. I would show you guys some clips and some footage, but unfortunately, despite the fact that this thing is basically entirely lost, Fox has decided to go all piranha on me and decided to sink any possible clip that I could even show you. This, for the record, is also why I can't post the pilot on my other channel like I've done for, say, Happy Hour and The Winner. I would love to show this to you guys, and I'm gonna keep fighting it. Check in the comments to see if I have any updates on the situation, but for now, I'm gonna have to just use pictures of Vanished. I tried so hard to come up with something to say about this show, but without footage and without you guys seeing it, it's tough to talk about, especially because the show is just so... What's it about? Sarah Collins, who is the wife of a senator, goes missing, and so the senator has to find her, and that's pretty much it. There's some lingering plot lines and reoccurring themes, but they don't really amount to much. Why? Well, I'll get into that in just a minute, but even though I only have the pilot, I know exactly how the show went down. And trust me, it's not good in the slightest. But for the pilot, it was okay. Struggling to find anything to say about a show like this, I decided to look up its production history, and man, oh man, is there a story here. So, let's stop beating around the bush. I'm gonna tell you guys why Vanished, well, vanished. To start, Vanished did not start off in the best way. It was originally pitched in 2002, and it was going back and forth between the creators and Fox trying to hammer out a deal that everyone was satisfied with. Eventually, in 2006, they actually managed to strike up a deal to make a pilot. Once this pilot was done, Fox got really excited about this show. Then they decided, hey, let's pick this up for a full series. In television, 13 episodes is the standard green light. You get 13 episodes, or at least 13 half hours, depending on if you're a 22-minute or 11-minute show, and that's what you get for your first season. Unless you're considered a big gamble, then you get 7, or unless you're really cheap and easy to make, or they have a lot of faith in you, then you get 21. 13 is the standard, and for dramas, that's the perfect amount of time to play out a story. Not too little a time so that you have to rush it, but not too long so that you have to drag everything out or put in filler. But this is where all the good parts stopped. Though the time slot was pretty decent, which was occupying a space that 24 normally did, and it managed to get some decent actors like Joanne Kelly as Sarah Collins, John Allen Nelson as Jeffrey Collins, and Gail Howard as Graham Kelton, the FBI investigator. But it wasn't meant to be. As soon as it aired, it did... And by I mean the most you could possibly get. The reviews were split right down the middle, some calling it a bold new step for the network, one that was going to take it to great places and had a wonderful story to tell. Others called it exactly what I did, just mediocre. The ratings were decent, but nothing really that special, not enough to get excited about. Though, admittedly, because Fox wasn't entirely sure about the project going into it, they considered the numbers that Vanished's pilot got a wonderful, pleasant surprise, albeit nothing too fantastic. Funny enough, you always hear about these shows that get killed off by the network because the ratings went down, right? Well, this wasn't actually the case for Vanished. The ratings went up, especially with the younger demographic. The older folks didn't really care too much for Vanished, but to the 18 to 49-year-old demographic, which I guess exists, it was doing really well. Week after week, it was starting to grow. This makes sense too. A show as dark and as morbid as Vanished is definitely tailors more to the younger crowd. I can't really see my grandparents fawning over something like this. I can hear you guys right now. You said the good parts were all over. What are you talking about? This is good. No, it's not. Because as the ratings got higher and higher, Fox decided, hey, this is something to pursue. Let's put a lot of faith in this. So they started promoting it more. They started getting the word out more. But right when they did, a little series called Heroes premiered on NBC and sucked all of that viewership away. Halfway through the show, it was over. The Heroes demographic was the exact same one that Vanished had been pulling. Heroes had a better premise. Heroes had better promotion. Heroes had more going for it. How can a slow and stagnant show like Vanished compete with Heroes? Answer? It couldn't. All of those people in that 18 to 49-year-old demographic were gone in an instant, leaving the show without the fan base that it had. The network had no idea what to do. What's gonna happen now? We put a lot of eggs into this Vanished basket, and what do you know? Everyone who watched the show just vanished. To be fair, there was still a small hardcore fan base still around. But again, small. Small doesn't cut it in the television industry. Your fans could be bordering on religious devotion to your series, but if it's not a big number, the networks don't see it as worth it. Numbers are what pulls in the money. So, if you're a producer of a show that has a very loyal but extremely small fan base, what would you do to drum up some new viewers? Is it get the viewers that you already have angry? Well, I hope you said no, because if you did, that means that you have more vision than those who made Vanished. Yes, fan favorite character FBI Director Kelton, who was one of the main characters of the show, got killed off in the 7th episode. Fans went nuts. They were very angry with this. Like I said, fan favorite character. And even though this episode has not surfaced, I have seen from some forum posts and some people that I know that actually have seen this, it wasn't a graceful kill-off at all. No, it was like what happened in the Drawn Together movie where it's just to make people upset. The hope behind this was that people would start talking about it and it would drum up conversation. This conversation would spark some new people who haven't seen the show or used to watch the show but got siphoned off by Heroes to get invested once again and check out this exciting story. But that didn't happen. Instead of talking about this in a positive light or a whoa, I did not see that coming light, people were angry and upset and left the show once again. Whoops. You already shot yourself in one foot, so why not shoot yourself in the other one just to make things better? At this point, it seemed like Fox really didn't care about this show. They were out the door with doing business with Vanished. They put it on hiatus for 3 weeks because of the baseball finals. Why not, right? Then they moved it to Friday night afterwards. I don't know if you guys know this, but if you're a TV show and you get moved to Friday night, you may as well go ahead and look for another job. Friday night is the death slot. No one ever watches TV on Friday night unless you're a kids network. People are always out with their friends or their family or loved ones in general. No one's really going to be sitting around watching TV. Or at least not as many as, say, on the weekdays. Networks fill these slots with either filler shows or shows that they want to see gone. It's the equivalent of what Nickelodeon does with shows that they're tired of by putting them on Nicktoons Network. And sure enough, this killed the show. You know how I mentioned that it was doing super well with that 18 to 49 demographic? Well, it was number 2 in that slot originally. Now it pulled in almost 1% of that viewership. Yes, almost 1%. Every episode just did worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. It was a constant repeating landslide of failure. It was so poisonous, in fact, that Fox decided they just didn't want to talk about Vanished anymore. Done. Cut it out. But you know when they did that? They did that before the first season was even done. They did this at episode 9. So 9 episodes into this serialized story-based series, it's just gone. And this is what killed off the last of the fan base. They didn't even finish the story for a while. What happened later was that the 4 remaining episodes got posted on MySpace. So if you wanted to see the finale, you gotta go to MySpace to do it. Even then, the finale was bad. They only answered one of the lingering storylines. Everything else they had was left up in the air. So, vanished, leaving pretty much everything entirely unanswered. Legend has it that there was actually going to be an episode of the Fox series Bones that was going to talk about Vanished, eventually revealing all of the plot lines that weren't answered. But a writer's strike came up and killed any chance of that, because by the time the strike was done, Vanished was no longer in the public eye. As if it ever really was. This is what happened to Vanished. Started off kinda strong, and then it was all downhill from there. And I thought The Winner had it bad. No, this is worse. But unlike The Winner, it wasn't the network trying to torpedo it, not giving it any chance to survive. Vanished is basically the television equivalent of US President Franklin Pierce. Every single thing, every single element in his life was always out to get him, making sure that he had nothing but misfortune. This is what Vanished was too. And I have just actually been told that Vanished is now no longer lost. It has recently been posted to Hulu. So now you can see the entire disappointing, mediocre series for yourself. I checked some of them out, and it still didn't hold my interest. I couldn't get through it. Had to edit that in real quick, so now back to the video itself. Although I'm not a big fan of this series, I am really sad to hear about what happened to it. Even a show that I hate, I don't think deserves this. Shows are very difficult to make, especially crime dramas like these. You gotta make them really stand out. And even though I don't think this one stood out, I can tell the people behind it were really passionate about their work. They cared about this series. They wanted it to succeed. It never had the opportunity though, and that's the worst part. If a show's gonna be bad, let it be bad. That way it can get canceled because of its own merit. But if it's okay, and it's never given the chance to be anything else, that I think is really, really sad. Oh well, there's nothing we can do about it now. All I can say is that is why Vanished vanished. Well, folks, thank you very much for watching, and hey, at least this one's no longer lost media, right? What do you guys think about Vanished if you've seen it? What do you think about its story? Comment below and let me know, because I'm always excited to hear what you guys have to say. Tune in next week for a very special episode, and I hope you're ready. I kind of am. It's gonna be a big one.